We're on the doorstep of the midterms, and oh boy, is it looking salivating if we're just going to keep it 100, okay? And I don't even need Rick Scott's dead eyes to stare at me to tell me that the Dems are in a rude awakening, but it's kind of like a foregone conclusion, right? Like everybody's taking a look at the governor's mansions in a couple of different places, specifically just how hilarious and how big of a freak out Stacey Abrams is going to have in consecutive elections and how she's going to try to spin how she was screwed yet again. Okay, but taking a look at her, nobody's screwing her. Okay, and then probably the most contentious one. Okay, there's a little bit of interest in what's going on in New York. Okay, that one could be interesting to see how close it ultimately goes, and I wish the best for the people in New York, but that's going to be a tough pill to swallow for a lot of New Yorkers to just pull the handle for the Republicans. But God willing, that's something like that happens. Okay, to give a swift kick in the ass to the Democratic Party, or knowing them, because we've seen this cycle happen before. Okay, they're just going to take a giant shit kicking and then take a look and take a look around at their surroundings and do the old Principal Skinner meme. Maybe I'm out of touch with my electorate. Nope. Everybody else is a racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe. Okay, cool, great, wonderful, fantastic. I just don't know how much deeper that well ends up going, but we'll see, because guess what? Yeah, man, Rick Scott, well, he is just kind of a loathsome hunk of shit for most of the time. Okay, he's 1,000% right. Okay, a rude awakening in the midterm elections. Yeah, man, okay, governor's races, Senate elections, okay, but I'm a little bit more concerned, okay, about what's going on in the House, because everybody's already just kind of said, yep, no, that's going to go the way of the Republicans, okay, even the more left-leaning outlets are just kind of already conceding it, and they have been for months on end at this point, that, yeah, Kevin McCarthy's going to be the next Speaker of the House, and the Republicans are just going to end up taking a majority. Oh, but it'll be a slim one, some of them will say out there, okay, everybody's already just looking at the much more salacious, some of the bigger elections in the Senate and in the governor's races. Even I've done that as well, but I want to take a look a little bit closer at a couple of things. But first and foremost, early voting that's out there. We can take a look at some of the polls and the way that they're coming in, and based on, party registration, yeah, there's a big red leaning, okay, in a lot of the early voting. And even early voting right now with everything, whoo, buddy, it's... I think it's going to be an early night on the 8th, okay? You know what? Hey, don't want to jinx anything. Touch wood. Over 20 million have voted so far ahead of the 2022 midterms. And yeah, it's a few days old at this point in time, okay? I don't know how long in some of the places the early voting goes on, or whenever you got a mail-in ballot in some of these places, whenever they get counted to. But hey, man, then again, this is going out a couple of days before the election, so who knows if we're going to know whenever those ballots finally get done counted, but whatever. As of this past Sunday, more than 20 million Americans have cast absentee ballots or voted in person ahead of the 2022 midterms, according to research in an update on Sunday morning. Some 12.5 million have cast mail-in ballots, while nearly 8 million have voted early and in person. Data from the University of Florida's Election Project shows. The project compiles voting data from states that report early voting. Florida, California, Georgia, and Texas lead the way with more than 2 million votes cast apiece. And this isn't going to be the turnout of a general election, even with all the hype and all the fervor, okay? The left, the Democrats tapping into all of their hot button topics, okay? And then the right just saying this is going to be the most consequential midterms ever, and it's like blah, blah, blah. This is the same shit that gets rolled out every fucking 4 years, okay? Christ almighty. We're already campaigning and we're already getting hype for 2024, so don't fucking worry about it, okay? This will be the most consequential and most important midterms until the next one, okay? A number of states last week opened their early voting phase, while New York State and Jersey began an early voting phase on Saturday. All right, so we're probably going to see quite a few more million votes come in before actual election day, which is just so fucked to begin with. Outside of very specific examples, it should be election day. Election day is the only thing that's written in the United States Constitution in regards to that specific process. It should stay that way. It shouldn't be election season, okay? It shouldn't be election 2, 3, 4 fucking weeks at this point in time. Christ almighty, okay? But again, I'm also the guy who thinks that we should return back to the really, really, really old way of doing things. If you're a net taxpayer, okay? If you've pledged service in the in the way of armed services, okay, you're a landowner, anything like that, we return to that way in order for you to earn your vote. You're not just given it, okay, because my vote, my well-informed vote, theoretically is worth just as much as some 18-year-old airhead who spends all of her day on fucking TikTok, okay? I don't think that's fair, but fair isn't the fucking balance of the realms now, is it? Michael Bitzer, all right, professor at Catawba College in North Carolina, who was described as an expert in early voting patterns, told Politico on Saturday that the greater turnout of early voting doesn't reflect a shift in the electorate. No, you got to take a look at the amount of ballots, okay? The amount of party ballots that showed up, and specifically in Nevada was something that I was seeing. There's been an 8-point shift, a fucking 8-point shift in the way of Republicans. It's still +3 Democrat, but you remember, okay, if we want to draw, any sort of similarities, any comparisons to 2020, wasn't Nevada one of those really, really, really razor-thin states? And there's 2 very, very consequential elections. 1 Senate seat and 1 governor's race that's out there. Interesting. The vast majority of these early voters are typical early voters, either voting in person or by mail. Thanks, Bitzer. I thought you're supposed to be an expert, not somebody that says, these are the people that normally do the things. Thanks for my check. So we're not kind of seeing folks shift their vote method from election day to early voting so far. Georgia's Secretary of State's office. Which was heavily derided by Republicans following the 2020 election for what they said was a failure to act on voter fraud, said Saturday that voters have turned out in record-breaking numbers. Yeah, but that's not what the expert said. I don't know how to believe in this situation, okay? An AIDS patient or a cancer patient on how I should be living my life. I don't know. 1 in 5 active voters have already gotten their vote in. That's not promising. I'm just saying, knowing everything that happened in Georgia, okay, or at least speculating on what happened in Georgia, the fact that 20% of the votes have already been returned, 20% of registered voters, and normally your turnout, especially for midterms, hovers in on and around 40 to 50%. So, ooh. And we will hit the 2 million mark next week, said Secretary of State. Ugh, you know who it is. Okay. In a news release, the strength of our voter registration system and our county, election directors are on full display. Yeah, you better fucking get ready to eat those words through those buck teeth, you cunt. But hey, at least big ups to Brian Kemp, who put in some headline-worthy election integrity methods after all of the elections in 2020. Thanks, Brian. Those are the ones that forced the All-Star game, the MLB All-Star game to Colorado that has stronger election integrity laws already on the books. Fucking funny. And then what happened to the Atlanta Braves that were done out of the All-Star game? All right, they won the World Series. So yeah. Media should continue to spurg out. It's really good business for sports teams. The office said the voters in the state have begun to return absentee mail ballots at a higher price. As of Friday, 144,394 ballots have been returned to county election offices, and he claimed that only 899 ballots have been rejected statewide. And those voters received cure notices explaining how they can cure any discrepancy. Great, wonderful, fantastic. So what's at stake? Well, okay, I've talked a fair amount of detail, but this whole election season has just kind of been categorized by just very few, very select elections. Really, let's keep it a buck, okay? Carrie Lake, you can even see her over there. Ooh, let's point correctly, okay? Right up there at the top, Arizona GOP gubernatorial, whatever the fuck that's all about, okay? I'm sure she's doing something salacious because she's really, 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 really good at campaigning. Hopefully she's that good if and when she wins the election. I'm hoping and I'm praying because she is one of the best campaigners I've ever seen out there. She's approaching Trump tier, especially the way that she handles the media. Given her background, okay, her eloquence, her ability to stump those motherfuckers hasn't been seen since Trump before, okay? And the way that she can do it, and the fact that, all of the mass media's arsenal of just, oh, you're a sexist, bigot, homophobe, they don't really land that hard, especially for, somebody who used to be one of them. She has her news reporting background, used to vote Democrat, and then she flipped her party affiliation because guess what? That party is asshole cancer. And she took all of those street fighting techniques and finally bestowed them upon the feckless Republicans. You love to see it. And the fact that she's, ushering a new era, just casting aside the Doug Duceys that are out there, couldn't happen to a better state. I love Arizona. I think it would be a wonderful place. It is definitely on my short list of places whenever I finally have the ability to make the jump to the United States from the communist shithole that is Canada. But at least, Danielle Smith, I gave her my props a couple of, or I will in the future, and I have in the past as well. I forget when all of those videos are going to be coming out, but she's at least giving me a nice little cushion right here for the time being, to just, gather all my forces. But yeah, there's been that election that's received a fair amount of insight and speculation and coverage as well. And Blake Masters, Mark Kelly, Senator Mark Kelly, astronaut Mark Kelly, okay, Chinese Communist Party benefactor Mark Kelly. There's been a lot less coverage, okay? Haven't heard a lot about Mark Kelly, okay? A lot about Blake Masters, okay? Which is very interesting. And then you go back to Georgia, which we were previously talking about there, okay? You got, yes, the obvious Brian Kemp is going to be dog walking, very appropriately. Stacey Abrams again. But then there's a very, very, very hotly contested, and that one's going to be probably the most speculated and most watched senatorial election outside of the one in Pennsylvania, which if nobody there could end up getting voted in, that would be terrific and fantastic. Like, I don't even know if Fetterman will live to see election day, and if Oz could just continue to just continue to walk east until he hit water, and then just put rocks in your pockets and just continue to fucking walk east, that would be better for fucking everybody involved. But the, what's his name? Raphael Warnock, the current senator, okay? One of the two that ended up, going in just unopposed thanks to Kelly, Great Value, Ann Coulter, Loeffler, and David Perdue shit in the fucking bed in 2020, but that seat for full election had to go up this year. So Warnock, I think, wasn't it Warnock who ended up beating Perdue, or am I getting him confused with the little Jewish guy? But whatever. Okay, Warnock's going up against Herschel Walker. Yes, the Herschel Walker. And that was very contentious, okay? You're seeing a lot of coverage on Herschel Walker, which this is the way I like to see those campaigns. Any publicity outside of some very, very, very slight exceptions is good publicity when it comes to a campaign, because that just energizes the base. It gets more name recognition on a candidate, okay? So anybody who's, undecided, doesn't really know a hell of a lot about things, okay, gets into that voting booth and it's like, okay, cool, I'm here because I was drugged by my spouse, or it was on its way and I had an idea that, oh, this can be my one good deed for the day, so I'm just here to vote, and I've heard of this guy, that girl, this dude, and yeah, that's about it, okay? And then just fire off your fucking ballot, okay? So if somebody recognizes your name, like Herschel Walker, okay, again, like a University of Georgia fucking college running back legend who still holds fucking records, against the guy whose biggest accomplishment is giving his fucking ex-wife a couple of black eyes, it's like, it should be fairly, well decided at this point. But yeah, the Senate elections, the gubernatorial elections, those have been getting all of the coverage. And like I said at the beginning, okay, you just kind of glossed over the fact that Republicans are going to retake the House. But in what areas and what seats and what are the elections in the House that we should be looking for? Okay, we got four of them. Oh, four of them. Okay, key districts to watch on election night. Okay, so on November 8th, every race for the House of Representatives will be in play as the two parties grapple for control of Congress. Yeah. Congressmen every 2 years, senators 6, and the president 4. We know. Okay, but only one of them is term limited, and can we fix that? That would be terrific. Republicans are favored, but the big question is by how much? Yes, exactly. Where are they going to pick up seats? Where are there seats to pick up? That's what I want to know. Okay, some key districts are suburban, others exurban, okay, as cities generally trend blue and rural areas trend red. Yeah, we know, because you can take a look at that map, okay? Because if you take a look at it, okay, especially a bird's eye view, America really is a red country, okay, with little blue cancerous sores. The most striking example was Missouri. That's what I seen out there, okay? The entire state is fucking red, okay? Not like Oklahoma, where the entire state is red. Every single country voted for Trump in 2020. It was fucking astounding, but even still, okay? In Missouri, it's an entire state of red, okay? Some deeper red than others, but then there's just this one little blue sliver. Oh, but it's fucking sapphire blue. Like, it is blue as a motherfucker. It's as blue as Kamala Harris under the desk of Willie Brown. That's how fucking blue it is. And it's just St. Louis. Just St. Louis right there. It's an entire red state at the whim of the diehards in St. Louis. Thankfully, there's enough to offset it so that the will of the people of Missouri in general, who aren't subject to some of the highest crime rates in the entire country, have their say reflected in their representation. You do love to see it. That's the only good time. That's the only time that you'll hear me praise representation. It's one that's, actually it's textbook definition. In some races, analysts watch to see if the incumbent who flipped the seat from the other party will last an election can hold on to it. And they watch others to observe key demographics at work. Yeah, those are the boring motherfuckers. I just want to sit back and cheer for, somebody that I know ends up winning. So here are 4 of them that you need to be watching. North Carolina's 13th district is an open seat in the suburbs and outskirts south of Raleigh. All right. Running against each other are Democrats Willie Nickel, a veteran state legislature, and Republican Bo Hines, Trump endorsed, and making his first run for office. Is that the kid right there? Christ almighty, is he taking over for Madison Cawthorn? Because they look like cousins. Let's just keep it a buck. And that has nothing to do with being from the Carolinas. Okay. The seat is vacated by Republican Ted Budd, who ran for Senate, but redistricting moved it to an entirely new territory. What makes this race interesting, says political analyst Jeffrey Sheckley of 538, is that is precisely in the middle of the congressional district, ranked from most Republican to most Democratic. Interesting. Okay, see how the bleed over goes. That is kind of interesting, okay, if you're political, if you're somewhat interested in, the inner workings of politics. Not that interested, though. But anyways, still, where are we? Okay, which way goes on election night might suggest how other districts will go. Yeah, your bellwether fucking metrics, they kind of got thrown into question in 2020. I wonder why. If you look at how the 2020 elections results broke down, 538, you motherfuckers. If you took the presidential and U.S. Senate and governor's races and took all the votes, it would be 52-48 Democratic. Interesting. Michael Bitzer. But how did it end up going on that one? Interesting. Okay, 50-50, right? Yeah, your guys' models were fucking bang on. Continue to tout the fact that you guys called one election correct, okay, a decade ago, okay? Mitt Romney, Barack Obama, Nate Silver's receding and strangely shaped hairline ended up calling that one perfectly. Congratulations. Hopefully you fucking placed some money on that bet there, but outside of that, you've been horrifically wrong ever since. 16, 18, 20, probably 22 if we're just going to go ahead and keep it 1,000. They'll probably do something on the election day of to just go ahead and gloat and put everything in the record as it comes to predictions, but that's talking about stuff that's going to be happening in the future. Each candidate represents what the party wants in North Carolina. Nickel is relatively moderate Democrat, no such thing in today's day and age, who plays well with party voters in the state's smaller cities and suburbs, but is also swing voters, while Hines has an endorsement from Trump, essential for Republicans in the rural counties they dominate. So what is the demographic makeup of this place? Can we talk about that? Bullock said an incumbent moving on represents an opportunity for the opposing party. Kind of, sort of, unless you nominate a 6'8" human tumor that can barely string together a sentence, then you'd have an opportunity. Because an incumbent has a personal following that makes him harder to beat. Yeah, with an open seat, a district reverts to its usual partisan split, giving analysts a better idea of what's going on there. Okay, cool. So what about Iowa's 3rd district? All right, Iowa, state that went for Trump. North Carolina did by, kind of a razor-thin margin, but it did for Trump. Okay, so Iowa did, no question there. The district stretches from Des Moines south to southwest towards Omaha, Nebraska. That's in a different county. Okay, so if this is going to be the 3rd district of Iowa, it's just kind of the outskirts of Des Moines. Interesting. Okay, it includes Des Moines suburbs and fast-growing exurbs as well as rural areas. I'm going to go ahead and raise the hand as being somebody else who's unfamiliar with the terminology of exurbs. Is that like people who are exiting the suburbs? Is that the people that are exiting the city? Is it kind of like a subsection instead of saying suburbs? Is that what we're talking about here? Okay. Democratic incumbent Sidney Axney, okay, has won the seat twice without reaching 50% of the vote. Oh, do they got tiered or ranked choice voting? That's all fucking asshole cancer. And after redistricting, the district voted narrowly for Donald Trump over Joe Biden in 2020. All right. The second most likely tipping point after North Carolina's 13th congressional district, said analyst Nathaniel Rechik. Okay. In 538 podcast. Oh my god, if you want terrible fucking takes, listen to that abomination. I haven't. I could just speculate. Raychick said it's a good seat to watch because it has two reasonably strong candidates in the incumbent Axney and Republican State Senator Zach Nunn. He's got a strong name, one that you could pronounce. The other one is kind of like Axney. Let me Axney you a question. Like, what are we doing? Ads in the race have mainly featured national issues like abortion and crime. Cool. I bet you Iowa cares about one of those. Not too sure about the others because it's kind of a rural state, and they recently had somebody. Pretty sure I'm getting the state right on this one. At a mall, a would-be mass shooter ended up getting stopped by a guy who was enforcing his constitutional carry. Yeah, I think crime might be a little bit more important than your fringe issue, but to each their own, I guess. Rather than local ones, it's the epitome of everyday American average Joe congressional district. Yes, this is the way that 538 thinks of these people. You guys are just numbers to put into a calculator, okay? You normal people don't understand what's going on in politics. Fucking elitist cunts. Republicans will have to beat some tough Democratic incumbents to have a majority, or at least a sizable majority. Yeah, no, that's actually true. There's some seats that they have to flip. That's why it's like, okay, it's a foregone conclusion that Republicans are going to take back the House. Okay, cool. Who are you going to knock off? Like, that's what's important. With the addition of Republican trending rural communities, even more so? That's weird. The district has become a little easier for Republicans now that it has two previous races against Axney. All right. Texas's 15th district stretches from southeast of San Antonio south to McAllen and the Mexican border. Ooh, these are going to be people that are, without knowing everything that's down there, people are going to be, very, very pissed off about how the border's been handled. Let's keep it a buck, okay? And this is San Antonio, okay? One of the cities where, you know what, hey, you guys kind of got a fucked up sheriff that was all about, we need to go out there and investigate Ron DeSantis because he shipped a bunch of those illegals out, okay? Don't mind us shipping illegals out, but when Ron does it, that's bad. And it's like, you're how many states away? Fuck off and deal with your own fucking problems. Weren't there like 26 illegals that were found dead in the back of a tractor trailer that you should be fucking dealing with, you dumbass? But yeah, man. That's going to definitely be a race to watch, okay? Because there's a lot of funny stuff that's happening in Texas. And then even during, like, Democratic primaries, how they're outright rejecting progressive policies. Texas is definitely staying Texas, baby. But this race is going to be between Republican insurance agent Monica De La Cruz and businesswoman Michelle Vallejo. You know what? Hey, I got to give it up on both sides on this one. People who are not career politicians going in, okay? Nobody from the state house trying to make it big on the Fed stage, okay? This is an insurance agent and a businesswoman. Great, wonderful, fantastic, because 80% of the district voters are Hispanic. But they're both females, and we're just going to need to see how Hispanic, what level of machismo is going to be running through here, because that's something that's never really properly polled, okay? And if these are traditional Hispanic households, that could go far ways, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. And I've heard quite a bit about Monica De La Cruz. Michelle Vallejo, I don't know a goddamn thing about her. I'll just keep it open and honest on that one. Okay, so the seat was represented by Democrat Vicente Gonzalez, who opted to run for the neighboring 34th congressional district. Okay, cool. So somebody seen an easier opportunity is like, what? San Antonio? Okay, deuces. Druk said his two big questions. Who's this motherfucker? Galen Druk, okay, an analyst, okay, of 538. Why are you talking 538? They're just wrong about everything, okay. Well, not everything. We did find some pretty decent talking points that are out there, okay. Anyways, yeah, two big questions nationally were what would happen to the upscale districts trending Democratic since 2016, and what would happen with Latino voters. Yeah, no, interesting. We've kind of seen the way that the winds have shifted on Latino voters, but hey, man, to each their own. I guess they could just, flip on a dime, I guess. Because the district is heavily Hispanic, analysts can get a quick read on election night about how that demographic is voting, I guess. Border counties, probably a little bit different than some of the other Hispanic areas, but whatever, racist. Analysts can't make a call on election night watching districts with fewer Hispanics because they don't have a demographic breakdown yet. Hispanic voters shifted 8 points towards Donald Trump in 2020. I wonder why. He said he was going to build a wall and that was racist, and then they're like, he's going to build a wall, we're going to go ahead and vote for him. He's like, oh, fuck. One thing Druk said he'll be watching for is whether they revert to the mean. And it's like, well, you stupid Hispanics, forget about Trump. I don't like this guy. The things that he says are very rude. Or whether, alternatively, Republicans hold their gains among demographics. Yeah, I don't know. What about, like, the just about 250,000 people that end up coming across the border every single fucking month in Texas? I wonder if they'll just have short-term memory loss and be like, oh no, Mr. Biden let us stay here, so maybe we should vote for him. I doubt it. Hispanics in the Rio Grande Valley, okay, that's on the other side of the state, though, okay, have been there since before the state of Texas and tend to be more conservative than, say, Puerto Ricans in New York City, Druk said. Yes, because Puerto Ricans are also technically United States citizens, so imagine that. Imagine this. There are different types of Hispanics. Oh my God, Latinos aren't a monolith? Oh my God, I just thought, and according to Jill Biden when she was down in, funnily enough, San Antonio, they were just all breakfast tacos or breakfast burritos. Fucking weird. Social conservatism, as well as issues like immigration. Yes, social conservatism among minority populations. Yeah. Why do you think this big push, why I've just been calling this out, because this is just going to fall fucking flat. Okay, minority people, okay, don't really like abortion all that much. At least if they show up, okay, they don't like to talk about it all that much. They don't want to fucking support it all that much, especially Mexican households, especially South American populations. It ain't that fucking popular, okay? You can go and take a look, okay? And nationalism, a strong feeling of patriotism for the United States if they legally made the jump across the border, that is fucking strong that's out there, okay? Anyways, a lot of people are related to border agents or they're border agents themselves. Oh my God. Why not just say that you have a black friend, you fucking weirdo. Anyways, last but not least, California's 27th district was chosen by 538 editor Maya Sweedler because of its suburban exurban district that trends Democratic by 8 points. Interesting. Okay, meanwhile, is represented by a Republican, Mike Garcia. Mike, what do you got for us? Who won a special election in 2020. Why would it be why is it special? Okay. He's in his third match against the same opponent, Democratic Christy Smith. What, bitch, come back for another one? You're running out of eyes to darken. Whom he defeated by only 333 votes in 2020's general election. Yeah, I'll be watching this one because I want to see this fucking gaping asshole. I'm sorry. Large electoral defeat that she'll end up catching this time around because I don't know, man. Like, you see the way that people are leaving California. That actually, I might have talked myself into something maybe a little bit closer. Maybe it won't be so humiliating because anybody who would have been voting for Mike Garcia has left the state, okay? Even though Gavin Newsom tells us that, hey, man, he's the arbiter of freedom, okay? Ron DeSantis on the other side of the country, that's the evil man, okay? It's not like he's trying to set up an election battle for 2028 or anything like that. Fuck Gavin Newsom. It would be a stretch to seat for Republicans normally. It would be a stretch seat. There we go. Proper terminology. And let's get my grammatics on point. But if Garcia is running hot on election night, that's weird. Okay, what are you trying to pick him up or something? It's notable for Republicans, she said, the only congressional seat in Los Angeles County. What the fuck? Currently held by a Republican. That must be where the rich people live. I'm just wondering. I'm curious if Garcia can hang on to this. Yeah, inside Los Angeles County, that could be... That's actually a good call. I got to give her credit on this one because this will be very interesting. The 27th, since redistricting, has become more difficult for a Republican, losing the conservative Simi Valley. Okay. On the previous map, most of the areas have been in the 25th Congressional District, which Garcia represents. The 27th's current representative, Judy Chu, is this time running in the 28th Congressional District. Born to Mexican parents and raised in the area, Garcia is a former he's also a Navy SEAL. He's a fighter. I think that this guy would be a wonderful representative for the people of the Los Angeles County, the 27th District. Who worked for Raytheon. Ugh. According to the Los Angeles Times, he is a conservative, having co-sponsored the Life at Conception Act, good for him, a national ban on abortion, and some types of birth control. Cool. Smith, who's this bitch? Smith, former California Assemblywoman, has worked for the United States Department of Education and, according to the newspaper, is an outspoken supporter of abortion rights. So this one's going to center specifically on abortion. Interesting, because that's one of those weird issues, okay? Because if I'm like, for most people, abortion is a fringe issue. But when it comes to rich people and their just willingness to abdicate any responsibility and think, well, what do the poor people want? Do poor people want access to abortion? Because I don't want any more poor children to be a burden on my tax dollars. This is their thought process, not anything that I'd, support or anything like that. I think that, hey, the big suck should only be for the first couple of minutes, but to each their own, okay? So the way that they might be thinking about this is, if they want access, a woman has the right to choose, or we could just supplant the talking points of Dr. Oz. An abortion is between the woman, her doctor, and the government. What a fucking dolt. So there's four of them. 4 House races from around the country to take a look at. There's some pretty good points there as it comes to why these will be somewhat bellwethers and, for the greater elections that are going to be going on hopefully for just the night. Not get drug out into a week where some funny shit can end up happening, but we'll just have to wait until for the 4th, whoopsie daisy, until the 8th in order to see if any of these prognostications end up coming true. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.